Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to NFL Nexus. I'm your host, and today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most volatile, high-stakes situations in the entire National Football League right now. Before we dive into this absolute cinematic drama unfolding in Berea, do me a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and comment down below on what you think the Browns should do. And hey, if you want to support deep dive, documentary-style NFL content exactly like this, please support the channel by becoming a channel member. Now look, the Cleveland Browns are currently a franchise torn in two entirely different, intensely conflicting directions. On one hand, you have an offensive locker room breathing a massive sigh of relief after years of debilitating dysfunction. It feels like a totally new era. But on the other hand, you have a looming $86 million financial apocalypse and a defensive superstar who might just be slipping away in the dark. It is a literal collision course.
Okay, let's quickly run through the agenda for this explainer so you know exactly where we're headed. We'll start with number 1, a new vibe in Cleveland. Number 2, the elephant in Berea. Number 3, the Joe Thomas parallel. Number 4, the financial ticking clock. Number 5, the Chicago Bears connection. And finally, number 6, to trade or not.
So, Section 1, a new vibe in Cleveland. A fresh start under head coach Todd Monken.
We have to start with the unexpected bright spot emerging from organized team activities. The offensive mood in Cleveland is completely, fundamentally shifted. And honestly, to understand how radical this change actually is, you really have to remember the misery of last year. Think about it. The roster was totally decimated, the locker room was visibly fractured, and ultimately, it cost Kevin Stefanski his job. But now, enter Todd Monken. The dark clouds seem to be parting, and it's perfectly encapsulated by this quote right here from wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. He said, "The concepts and everything is different about his offense, the play calling and the concepts." Think about where Jerry Jeudy was just a year ago. I mean, the guy was the definition of a malcontent. He was visibly standoffish in media sessions. He had a staggering drop rate that plagued crucial third downs. We all saw the national television clips of him aggressively berating the rookie quarterback on the sideline as the offense sputtered and died, series after miserable series. It was undeniably toxic. The whole thing was just broken. But fast forward to right now, Jeudy is smiling. He's actually laughing with reporters. He isn't just speaking, he is testifying. He is completely buying into the new system. And you know, when your star receiver goes from a sideline volcano to a smiling advocate, you know the culture inside that building is truly healing.
But optimism isn't just about smiles and good vibes, right? It's about actual weapons on the field. And the Browns have surrounded this fresh playbook with some serious, undeniable new talent. At the very foundation of this, you have the number 9 overall pick, Spencer Fano, stepping in at left tackle. We are talking about a mammoth human being here. This is a massive, foundational piece, drafted specifically to anchor the blind side for the next decade. Then you look out wide, you have rookie wideouts Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. And let me tell you, they aren't just learning the playbook, they are passing the eye test with flying colors. Boston's catch radius is already making veteran defensive backs look foolish in 7-on-7 drills. And in the backfield, Quinshon Judkins looks absolutely electric. Let's not forget the context here. Before his gruesome, season-ending Liz Frank injury derailed his campaign last year, Judkins was dominating the SEC. He rushed for over 1,500 yards as a sophomore at Ole Miss. That is no joke. Now, fully recovered, his jump cut is back. He looks incredibly fast. He looks hungry. And you definitely cannot overlook Harold Fannin Jr. stepping up at tight end, ready to absorb a massive target share with David Njoku out of the picture. So what does this all mean? It means this offense has actual teeth. The system is modern, and the talent is raw but incredibly explosive.
Which brings us to Section 2, the elephant in Berea, the glaring absence of a superstar.
Look, you can fix the offense, you can draft the flashy rookies, you can completely overhaul the culture of the building, but you absolutely cannot ignore the massive, unavoidable defensive roadblock sitting right in front of them. In Berea right now, the silence surrounding their superstar is deafening. Head coach Todd Monken has not yet spoken face-to-face with Myles Garrett. I really want you to let the absolute absurdity of that reality wash over you for a second. Think about the great head coach and superstar dynamics in this league. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are in constant communication during the offseason. Sean McVay and Cooper Kupp map out passing trees in May. The great coaches establish an immediate, unbreakable bond with their foundational pieces. The fact that the franchise's best player, the literal heartbeat of the entire city of Cleveland, hasn't even sat down in the same room with the new head coach yet, that is a staggering red flag. Some executives around the league are looking at this absence from OTAs and whispering. They're whispering that Garrett is heavily regretting the extension he signed. He wants to contend for a Lombardi trophy, not suffer through another grueling multi-year rebuild.
And guys, we aren't talking about just any rotational pass rusher here.
We are talking about the ultimate apex predator. 23 sacks. That is the single-season record he absolutely shattered last year. This is a man who practically single-handedly dragged a broken, battered 5-win team across the finish line in those victories. Think back to Week 10 against the Ravens. The Cleveland offense couldn't get past the 50-yard line for 3 straight quarters, so what did Garrett do? He perfectly timed the snap, beat a double team, literally strip-sacked the quarterback, recovered the fumble himself, and dragged 2 offensive linemen 3 yards with him in the process. He's a freak of nature. He is a generational anomaly trapped on a roster that is still trying to find its offensive identity. When a player of this magnitude speaks, the entire organization stops and listens. But when a player like this is completely silent, that's when you panic.
Section 3. The Joe Thomas Parallel. History repeating itself? To truly understand the gravity of this situation, we absolutely have to look backward at the ghosts of Cleveland's past. Because in the NFL, if you do not learn from history, you are condemned to repeat it on national television. The heartbreaking parallel is right in front of us. On one side, you have Joe Thomas, one of the absolute greatest left tackles to ever walk the earth. He played through a soul-crushing 4-44 stretch. 4 wins, 44 losses over 3 agonizing seasons. He protected the blind side for a revolving door of absolute dysfunction. Deshaun Kaiser, Johnny Manziel, Cody Kessler, Brandon Weeden, Jason Campbell. It was a nightmare. But he was fiercely loyal. He never demanded a trade, even when playoff contenders like the Denver Broncos came calling with premium draft picks. And what did it get him? He retired broken, having never played a single solitary snap in the postseason. Now look at Myles Garrett. He's approaching 31 years old. He has already requested a trade once before in 2025. He has watched the front office stubbornly pass on adding a premier quarterback this offseason. Current general manager Andrew Berry was actually in the front office that held on to Joe Thomas during those dark years. They erred massively by not trading Thomas for a king's ransom when his value is at its absolute peak. Garrett's age and a skyrocketing top number make this current situation a ticking time bomb.
Moving on to Section 4, the financial ticking clock, breaking down the complex contract variables.
The financial reality here is a dangerous, inescapable corner. When Cleveland reworked Garrett's deal this offseason to keep him content, they really didn't solve the problem. They merely delayed it. Let's trace this timeline. In March, they aggressively shifted his option bonus. Then we hit June 1st. Now, in the NFL, June 1st is the magic threshold. Why does this date matter so much? Well, because the league allows teams to take the remaining prorated signing bonus of a traded player and spread that massive cap penalty over 2 years instead of swallowing it all at once. It mathematically unlocks the door for a blockbuster franchise-altering move. But the deadline is incredibly fierce. Just days before Week 1, an unavoidable, concrete $29.2 million guaranteed payment is due to Garrett. The Browns literally cannot sit on their hands. They either pay the man a king's ransom to stay on a rebuilding team, or they pull the ripcord before September. There is absolutely zero middle ground here.
The mechanics of a potential trade are right here. Moving Garrett after June 1st drastically lessens the immediate blow. They would take just over $15.5 million in dead money, and yeah, sure, that hurts, but for a premier player, it's actually highly manageable. Crucially, though, it saves them over $8 million in much-needed cap space. In the National Football League, $8 million is a massive lifeline. What does $8 million buy you in late August? It buys you a veteran swing tackle when the inevitable injury bug hits your offensive line. It buys you reliable rotational depth in the secondary. But you might be asking, why? Why does general manager Andrew Berry frantically need every single penny of cap relief he can possibly find?
Because of this, $86.2 million. Let that massive number sink in. This is the monster hiding under the bed in Cleveland. This staggering, absolutely unprecedented number is the future dead cap hit looming for Deshaun Watson if he is a post-June 1 cut next year. We really have to remember the sheer magnitude of that mistake. The Deshaun Watson trade cost the Browns 3 first-round draft picks, a third-round pick, and 2 fourth-round picks, on top of handing him a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. It has created a financial black hole that is threatening to swallow the entire organization whole. To put this $86.2 million dead cap hit into perspective, the previous record for cap destruction was the Denver Broncos swallowing an $85 million hit to release Russell Wilson. Watson's hit will be even worse. If the Browns want to survive the fallout of the Watson era, they have to stockpile cap space and premium draft picks right now. Keeping Myles Garrett on a massive deal while eating $86 million for a released quarterback is pure franchise suicide. They need a bailout, and they need it immediately.
Which leads us to Section 5. The Chicago Bears connection. A potential suitor emerges.
If a trade is inevitable before that pre-Week 1 deadline, who has the money, the motive, and the absolute desperation to pull off a blockbuster, landscape-altering deal. Enter the Chicago Bears. The fit here is almost too perfect. First off, General Manager Ryan Poles has a desperate need for a terrifying pass rusher opposite Montez Sweat. Look at the defensive turnaround after they acquired Sweat last year. Their pressure rates skyrocketed from the bottom 5 of the league straight into the top 10. Put Myles Garrett on the same defensive line as Montez Sweat, and opposing quarterbacks won't just be losing games, they will literally be fearing for their physical safety. Second, let's talk about assets. Chicago has a complete arsenal. They own all of their 2027 draft picks. In a draft class expected by scouts to be heavily loaded with foundational talent, those picks are pure gold for a Cleveland team staring down a dark rebuild. Poles has a history of aggressive trades, and he just gave Sweat a massive extension, proving he is more than willing to pay premium talent. Finally, acquiring Garrett doesn't just improve the Bears, it instantly transforms them into terrifying NFC contenders. It shifts the entire balance of power in the league overnight.
And now we arrive at Section 6, to trade or not, the ultimate franchise dilemma. This is the decision that will permanently define Andrew Berry's legacy, Todd Monken's tenure, and the next decade of Cleveland Browns football. Keeping Myles Garrett isn't just about paying his current contract. It is about acknowledging the explosive reality of the defensive end market. Nick Bosa set the framework with his $170 million deal. Look at the names who have surpassed Garrett's average annual value, or are about to completely shatter it. T.J. Watt, Micah Parsons, Aiden Hutchinson, Will Anderson Jr. The market for elite edge rushers is hurtling toward $50 million a year. Myles Garrett is arguably the best pure pass rusher of his generation. He knows his worth. His agent absolutely knows his worth. If he stays in Cleveland, he will demand a massive, market-resetting raise. When you give a fully guaranteed contract of that magnitude to a defensive end over 30 years old, you are paying for past performance, not future production, on a team that honestly isn't ready to win a Super Bowl.
So I leave you with this massive question. Do the Browns cross their fingers, pay the massive guarantee, and pray this revamped, highly optimistic offense is enough to carry them deep into the playoffs despite the deafening silence from their defensive star? Or is it finally time to break the tragic cycle of the Joe Thomas era? Is it time to cash in their biggest, most terrifying defensive asset, to stockpile the draft capital they desperately need to survive the looming Deshaun Watson financial nightmare? This is the brutal reality of the NFL right now. If General Manager Andrew Berry makes the wrong choice here, he is sacrificing his job security and plunging the city of Cleveland right back into the dark ages. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This story is far from over, and when the dominoes fall, the entire league will shake. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and if you want more of this deep, cinematic NFL analysis, support the channel by becoming a channel member today. Thanks for watching NFL Nexus. I'll see you in the next one.